Our next speakers are Dr. Tess Feller and Isabel Ramirez Burnett from Remission Biome. Tess and Isabel have succeeded in designing and conducting complex patient-led research, and we look forward to hearing about it from you. Please, the stage is yours.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you. We are Renegade Research, and we're going to be speaking about catalyzing change with patient and caregiver-led research. Thank you to Unite to Fight for having us today. And we're going to go over the disclaimer. The content presented in this session is for informational purposes only, and it's not intended to be a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, treatment, or treatment suggestions. Always recommend seeking the advice of a qualified physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions regarding a medical condition. So I'm Isabel, and I'm Renegade Research President and CEO, and Remission Biome Project Director. I'm a systems engineer and board certified health coach, obsessed about research and empowering patients, and I've had ME/CFS for 43 years. I'm married for 30 years with 3 adult children, and I love to forage, garden, and all things homesteading.
So I'm Tess Fehler. I am founder of Renegade Research and Remission Biome. I have a PhD in Earth and Planetary Science, but I joke that I should have a second PhD in medicine from all the papers I've read. I've had ME/CFS for 19 years, and I've been married for 13 of those years with a 6-year-old kid. So our work is possible because patients, caregivers, and advocates have come together to share their expertise. Our team is over 90% patients and caregivers.
And we thank all of our volunteers who have helped us grow and continue to propel us forward.
So I think most people who are watching this already know about infection-associated chronic illness, but we'll just quickly mention, there are illnesses in which onset is linked with infectious disease. The ones we'll talk about today are long COVID and ME/CFS, but there are other conditions like chronic Lyme and MS that are also associated with infection. So ME/CFS and long COVID are really serious conditions. A lot of people haven't heard of them, but my personal experience is that often when I crash or I'm not feeling well, it feels like every cell in my body doesn't have energy. I say it's like my cell phone battery is about to die and it's not recharging. There are 15 to 30 million people around the world who have ME/CFS, and now 65 to 68 million who have long COVID. And about 50% of those with long COVID meet the diagnostic criteria for ME/CFS. There are no approved treatments.
We have seen the incidence of long COVID, of course, grow since the onset of the pandemic. And like we said, over 50% meet the criteria for ME/CFS. And we have the world population here by comparison. By 2033, we expect to see 1 billion people with long COVID, and of course, that overlap with ME/CFS as well. And patient-led research and caregiver-led research is not new. There has been a long history of communities caring for each other and doing things to help each other. But we have seen a growth because of the neglected conditions that affect populations that are underserved. We see the example in the Black Panthers, who established community-based healthcare that was centered around human rights and led to the screening for sickle cell anemia. AIDS activists who continue to emphasize that the knowledge is power because the knowledge allows them to continue to care within the community. It includes patients and caregivers in the decision making. And we have the expertise, not only personally, but expertise that can bring many professional backgrounds in scientific areas in research. It motivates other patients to participate in research and allows us to move faster to validate the anecdotes that we continue to hear within the patient populations.
So there are other groups led by patients and caregivers or founded by patients and caregivers that are looking at ME/CFS and long COVID. This is not a comprehensive list. There are more, but just wanted to mention a few. ME Action, the Patient-Led Research Collaborative, S4ME, the Decode ME Study, the Open Medicine Foundation, Solve ME, and our group, Renegade Research. There's also been a lot of personal self-experimentation type research on forums like Phoenix Rising. Patients try out treatments and they share information with each other. Outside of ME/CFS and long COVID, there are other groups that look at conditions like the decentralized science, DeSci movement, and within rare disease orgs. It's a kind of similar overlap to ME/CFS where they're underfunded. They can't get large clinical trials. So a lot of it is, self-experimentation and decentralized science. Next slide. So renegade research, it started off as an actual dream of mine. I had a dream and I woke up the next morning and I said, oh, we should start this organization called the Renegade Research Institute. And the idea was to provide an organization for people who want to contribute to research but had been sidelined by their chronic illness. And so we imagined a group that really was built for people with chronic illness to be able to contribute at whatever level that they were able to. And so it has grown from this actual dream that I had to a nonprofit that we incorporated in December 2023. And what we're doing this decentralized patient and caregiver-led research, and where we do N=1s and we bring them together to have more data and be able to combine their information.
So some of the projects that we're working on, one of our largest is Remission Biome, which a lot of you have heard about, and we're going to be discussing a little bit more in detail. The anesthesia survey comparing ME and long COVID and their comorbidities with controls and positive and negative responses to anesthesia. The HRV test measures neuroautonomic dysfunction with symptoms looking at high frequency, low frequency, and total power. The GIP test, postprandial malaise, tachycardia, and glucose dysregulation as a marker of neuroinflammation. We have educational projects like our clinicians and research roundtables, and we have collaborations in other patient-led research like the acid test and the nicotine test, academic collaborations that are leading us to IRV for the different projects. And again, additional collaborations with clinicians, researchers, and other organizations. In our future projects, we are looking at increasing accessibility and financial assistance for patients to access to all levels of medical care, mobile diagnostics for severe patients for comorbid conditions, assistance in overcoming barriers based on social determinants of health. And overall, we're building a network designed to improve access at all levels of research and of care for all of the patients.
So one of our goals is to work with academia, in people who do more traditional research. We have been collaborating with people in ways like contributing and presenting at conferences, catalyzing follow-up projects based on what we're learning with our patient-led, caregiver-led research. A few examples are the Immune company that did our single-cell immune profiling, found some interesting results in my data, and now we're interested in doing a larger study. Another one was based on the hypothesis of someone on our team, Kat. Two professors at Vassar, David Esteban and Lori Newman, are coming up with an idea for how they can test the hypothesis in the lab. And we also have the research roundtables to build connections among researchers from many different fields to help with some of our research projects, but also to make connections between them.
And overall, creating a patient and caregiver-led solutions in research and health, empowering patients with ME/CFS and long COVID to take care of their own health, bridging the gap between patient-led efforts and the overall access that patients have to reach a higher baseline, overcoming delays in research, utilizing our network to facilitate the roundtables and access to care, tapping into the collective wisdom of our patient and researchers to self-experiment and make breakthroughs in the protocol, establishing a foundation of clinical care that can help more people access innovative protocols with extra support, sharing our data, which is open source for additional data analysis, and foster a creative collaboration that's integrated into a model of patient-led research, bringing traditional researchers together in order to make everything more collaborative.
So now we'll talk a bit about our largest project, Remission Biome. So this project started because we found out that patients were having complete remission of ME/CFS from taking antibiotics. And I was one of these patients. In 2009, I was 4 years into my illness. I had severe illness. I was in bed almost 23 hours a day, just in constant pain all the time, brain fog. And I got prescribed antibiotics. And within 2 days, I jumped out of bed. I had more energy than I had had since I was a kid. All my pain was gone. My brain fog was gone. It was like a switch flipped. It was night and day going from how ill I was to how good I felt. And so my own experience and talking with other patients on Twitter, we decided to try to recreate these remission events. So yeah, we wanted to recreate the remission events and measure many different things before, during, and after to try to understand what was happening during them, with the idea that what we learned could help us to understand the pathophysiology of ME/CFS and also long COVID for the people that, originally it's people that met the criteria for ME/CFS, but now we're also interested in the people who don't. In addition to the antibiotics, we decided to provide additional inputs based on the hypothesis to try to create the environment for these remission events and ultimately baseline increases. And we also wanted to study the mechanisms behind the baseline increases in addition to the remission events. So I mentioned the hypotheses. We had many different hypotheses of what could have happened during these events to cause the remissions. And I won't go through this full diagram, but I'll just mention we are thinking about what could happen in the gut, leading to changes in the body and the brain that could explain why people would go into complete remission.
So the project route, again, based in patient-led, we got many collaborations that led to the hypotheses, a collaborative environment with researchers and clinicians, and the protocol was born from that. And participants work with their healthcare providers to do their tests, prescriptions, and monitor interactions.
So the idea for Remission Biome was in September 2022. We did a pilot study with 3 of us, Isabel and I, had remission events, and we were able to collect samples before, during, and after them. After that, we had 10 patients who had gotten prescribed antibiotics for other reasons, and they incorporated different parts of the protocol that they were able to get to try to trigger remission events. After that, in July of 2023, we opened applications for more people to get involved in this research. And that led to the Renegade 50, where 50 participants are now currently still working through the protocol. So again, I won't go through the details of this. We're going to have some more meetings where we talk more about results, but just quickly mention one of the interesting things we found during the pilot study was that the symptoms actually cycled between complete remission and feeling bad again, and that could happen within minutes. We did biome site testing, which we're still analyzing, and we're doing biome site testing now with the Renegade 50. So we're going to see what happened in the microbiome during these events and afterwards. One really interesting result, which we do have a presentation for on our YouTube channel, is IMU, the single cell immune profiling company, has found differences in CD14 monocytes, changes from before, during, and after. So go to our YouTube channel, you can learn more about that.
So the protocol consists of 6 stages. The first stage is a individualized baseline optimization and safety testing to prepare for the protocol. And after that's completed, there's a 2-week wash off where no other changes are made. And then we start the gut and brain preparation part of the protocol in stage 3. Stage 4 is the antibiotic, which is amoxiclav. And then stage 5 stabilizes the gut and brain. And then we go into stabilizing the baseline and optimizing as well. And we collect subjective and objective data through Bearable, through wearables, and some of the tests that we do are Cyrex, OAT, SIBO, and some of the functional questionnaires. And out of the initial participants, the 77% experienced remission events. And as Tess said, we now have the 50 cohort with 560 participants waiting to enroll. And you can get involved as well. You can get on the protocol wait list if you're a patient and are interested, become a partner, collaborate with us. We have our event recordings on Remission Biome YouTube. You can get in contact with us at tess@renegade-research.org or isabel@renegaderesearch.org. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for your presentation and for your very exciting project, which we can follow up on YouTube and through other means.